Okay, welcome to episode 33, I think, of What If History Restarted. Last time, the stuff happened, so go watch it, I guess. Anyway, first, we're going to get out of the way with the Holy Omani Empire update. Here it is before, and here it is after. Yep, here it is again. So you can see before and after. The dark green country is definitely becoming the leading power here. This pink one kind of got demolished. Rest in peace to the former strongest over here. They got absorbed. Not too much happened like around here. It's kind of the only place where not too much happened. This brown one shifted. Oh, where am I? That brown one shifted over, so that's something to note, I guess. And I think it's gotten to the point where we're actually going to be giving these countries capitals. Well, I mean, a few of them. So, first of all, this bluish one is going to have its capital in the former capital of Oman, before it became this mess. This one will have it in Qatar, however you say it. We'll give this pink one a capital in its one city. The green one, which should definitely have a capital, say it's right here, in the middle of the desert. And then I'll also give one to, this guy. So yeah, that's the Holy Omani Empire. But anyway, now for what is really going to be the main event of this video, which is the, well, we'll see. So, up here, Finland just had some trouble in the last episode with beating back this nation. Even though this country is very weak, Finland still barely even got that much land out of it, because they really couldn't even get the troops that far in, because this country seemed a lot stronger than it realistically should be. And that's because Golden Horde was funding it. And Finland finally manages to get that information, and with that, they're obviously pretty upset at Golden Horde for funding that. And, well, things are just going to get worse, because out in this area, even though these people over here are Russian, they were liking living under Finland a lot more, and under Golden Horde, they're doing worse. So, the couple thousand people that live in this little area actually start rebelling, and they start claiming that they want to join Finland. And so Finland kind of says, okay, that's fine, but then these guys start putting up the Finnish flag and everything, and now this is seen as an act of war by Golden Horde. And so the Golden Horde declares war on Finland, in that both of their alliances are going to be getting involved in on this. So that is going to be very major. Let me just fix this alliance map. So this area was because of the rebels, it was already practically controlled by Finland. So it'll kind of automatically be in their color. Like so. And with that, Finland is going to waste no time on going off their little panhandle here to start going all the way into Golden Horde. As for the circle team down here, they're doing a better job. Persia really has some gripes with the red team, and so we're going to see that come into play, as the red team is very weak. Well, here the Byzantines and the Golden Horde start getting into fights, but the Golden Horde, maybe surprisingly, is actually able to come out on top. And down here, Finland also now starts beating up the Byzantines. They even capture this vital city. They try to go off of Cyprus, but by now the wall that the Cypriots have is just way too powerful and not strong to be worth taking down. So they just go around it. And yeah, the red team's just gone. Over here, Egypt is also doing a pretty great job at beating up Libya, who is also very weak. They really don't have much good technology at all. And so they start going all the way to here, and that's not good. Finland does manage to get through here, but this was kind of Goldenhorde's tactic, because by now it is winter, and now all the Finnish people are freezing to death, and they really did not take over that much territory at all. Plus, they still have this river to defend themselves with. So after a pretty bloody battle over here, the Finnish then meet this river, but they really are pretty much unable to cross it. And so that, from here, they start freezing to death, and it is not looking good for the Finns. In fact, it's really not looking good for the Pentagon Alliance at all, as they all start kind of crumbling, with Byzantine's capital being almost taken, and a lot of their core territory being taken by Egypt. However, the Pentagon Alliance knows that they really aren't going to be winning this if it continues on like this, and they need more allies. And so they ask some countries, including the Holy Omani Empire, but the Holy Omani Empire does not like them. If anything, they are more in favor of the Circle Alliance. And so there is only really one country that's going to be coming to their support, which is Neo-Hejaz down here in Ethiopia. This country, you're probably very confused why I'm calling it Neo-Hejaz if you haven't seen the series before. But these guys started out like a long time ago, probably like episode 3 or 4. Started out around here, then they got kicked out. They had to come down to Africa, and they've actually surprisingly managed to just set up civilization down here very well, and they've flourished. And so, they are actually going to be joining this war on the side of the Pentagon Alliance, because they really do not like Egypt. They did work together to take out that Sudanese country, but that just led to more arguments between them. So yeah. To make matters worse, Indus, while not officially joining any alliance, is going to start invading Persia, because they want Persia's land. So, that's not great, for Persia really can't catch a break in this series. No, we don't really need that anymore. But yeah, Neo-Hejaz now starts pushing into Egypt. And Neo-Hejaz has actually gotten pretty powerful. They make a big encirclement down here. Egypt now has a pretty big issue, that they're fighting a 3-front war. First of all, the Libyans are not giving up. Instead, they have retreated into the desert, where they are hiding out. And also, let me change this color. Sure. Maybe like, yeah. Fighting in the desert is not very easy to do, obviously. I don't know why I can't erase that. And with that, Egypt is already suffering a ton of losses out here. And not to mention, they now have an invader from the south, plus they were also invading the Byzantines up from here. The Byzantines actually made a very nice comeback here. Counteroffensive, I'm looking for. And the Egyptians are completely pushed out of their territory. Now the Byzantines actually start pushing into Egypt. Egypt, this is probably almost definitely the biggest Egypt has ever been, but now it's all kind of crumbling down on them, as the Libyans even managed to recapture their capital. And we see over here in their eastern chunk in Arabia, a ton of rebels start popping up, because they want this land to not be Egyptian. And almost just died there. But yeah, across all 3 of these major cities, this thing forms. And now it's not looking good for Egypt, who has to recall all of their troops. And they now hold out here. Looking over here, Goldenhorde actually manages to capture the capital of the Byzantines. And plus, with the catastrophe that happened with Finland, I mean, Finland is not doing too great right now, as a ton of their military has been defeated. And they're now getting pushed deep into their own territory. I know who else is pushing deep into territory? Indus. And they have completely ransacked Persia, taken all of its wealth. And they are actually working together a little bit with this country up here, because this country decided that they might as well also invade to capture this major city, vital city even, which I believe is on the trade route. So yeah, these guys wanted more control of it. These guys wanted this access to the trade route, and that may or may not also be a motive for little old Indus over here, as this city is a pretty big cross-section, and they really want it. Now, this does not mean that Persia is, or Indus is on the side of the Pentagon Alliance. They're simply just invading. They happen to just be bordering only members of the Circle Alliance. So, yeah. But anyway, with how Egypt is collapsing, Libya actually just kind of leaves the war because, well, first they get some territory out of it, but once they get to, like, here, they've already taken a ton of major cities, and they're getting kind of tired, so they leave the war. They just leave the war afterwards. But the rebels and the Byzantines are both focusing in on Egypt. These guys, by the way, are helping out down here. That's why Byzantine hasn't completely collapsed, because they have these two countries helping them. They're in the Pentagon Alliance. But yeah, with all the three of these nations, well, two and a rebellion, fighting against Egypt, things are not looking good as their capital gets captured. Neo-Hejaz takes this very historic city, and now the rest of the Nile is completely taken by the rebels. And with that, Egypt surrenders, and they are knocked out of the war, which is not good. The Byzantines then liberate the Red Team, and here they just kind of meet with Persia, or Indus, and they say, like, we'll leave you alone if you leave us alone. And they agree. Right now they're too preoccupied with Golden Horde. This is both them and the Green countries. Both of these countries these are both their troops. But yeah, because they have Indus's troops, this is going very well. Although Golden Horde is definitely not a weak country. They're very strong. So they're only able to get to around here, and eventually they say, yeah, we're good, and get out of the war. But this has been detrimental to Golden Horde's resources. So Finland starts to come back and beat them up. With Finland completely liberated, we now see that the Byzantines, also helped out by Neo-Hejaz and these two countries, are able to liberate themselves. From there, they kind of like go around the Sea of Azov and then around the mountains here, and then they capture that city, and the rest of that just kind of naturally falls. And unfortunately for Golden Horde, is now the summer. So after once again meeting this river, they are now definitely not in the greatest predicament. So they now have three countries all racing towards their capital. These guys finally managed to break the stalemate, and Finland manages to cross the river. They go across all these major cities, and now Golden Horde's capital is surrounded on three sides and eventually taken. So, with Golden Horde completely crippled, this section then falls, and from there, Golden Horde surrenders, with the Pentagon Alliance being victorious in this very big war, which is also going to have a very big peace treaty, of course. We can look at it. So, we're not done yet. Sure, we'll leave it here. So obviously Finland's going to get their little rebellion, well, not their rebellion, but the Finnish rebels here are going to get their land back. And Finland is not only going to be getting all the Russian land that they used to have back, but they're going to be getting quite a bit more. Because they take pretty much this entire northern chunk. They even get access to the Sea of Azov, which is pretty crazy considering that they are Finland. And we're still in like the 1200s, maybe a little bit later. I don't know. We should probably just have them meet this river. So yeah. So the Byzantines, they're taking a very nice chunk out here, the Caucasus, and they may or may not be invading this pink country down here because, well, obviously, that is going to help them control this territory better. We'll save Egypt for last. Well, not quite, because first we need to give the red team some land. The red team has been on decline for a while, but they're finally making a comeback. Kind of. They get a ton of desert, and they get the rest of Mesopotamia, so that's good for them. Over here, the rest of Persia is giving over to Indus, who is also going to be taking this major city. We'll get to the alliances later. This country over here is going to be getting all the land they wanted out of Golden Horde. Which is a lot, obviously. And Golden Horde has now been reduced by a substantial amount. And Finland is ginormous now. Over down here, the rest of Egypt is going to be, it's not going to be looking great for Egypt. First of all, the Libyans are a very ethnically mixed country. I just noticed that. They're going to be taking a lot of this land. A lot of the west. They basically just pushed their border to the east more. The Libyans. They now have a ton more major cities, as they now start to get Europe kind of integrated into European culture, just like what Golden Horde did a while ago. That's also what that have been going on for some time now. They do also, because of that, kind of cut back on the Sahara a little bit. They still have a major city in the middle of the Sahara, but that's fine, I guess. A ton of Egypt's southern land down here is going to be given over to the Neo-Hejaz country. This major city right here is just barely spared. It's too nationalistic for Neo-Hejaz to reasonably control, especially considering how far away it is from Neo-Hejaz's capital, which is all the way down here. Neo-Hejaz is now going to take this opportunity to take a ton more of the desert, and with that they can finally get back to their favorite pastime, which, as we all know, is going to cause the religion map to look a little something like this. So that's great. Good job. The rebels, let's turn off the alliances. The rebels over here are given independence. Actually, let's look back at the religions. Most of them are this dark red one. This dark red one. But you can still see that there is some in this light red one. So that's kind of just what we're going to go off of. So over here we have the dark red religion people. They are not going to be getting quite all of the dark red land, as they do want to give the light red people a coast. But yeah, these guys, which are very odd looking, exist. And then we have there's like been so many countries in Arabia. Like northern, this chunk of Arabia, because it's a very kind of boring region to map. But anyway, yeah, these guys are existing now, so that's good for them. I would assume the Byzantines would get a little bit of land out here, though, so we will be doing that. So they also managed to nab up a lot of this Egyptian coast. Well, not a lot, but Egypt really does not have much coast on the Mediterranean anymore. They aren't tiny, but they're definitely diminished by a lot. Byzantines, look at Indus, they're ginormous now. They might be the strongest country in the world over Tuscany now. Tuscany's really only advantage was their economy and their technology, but by now I think Indus might as well just make up for that with how gigantic they are. They kind of become Persian, from WICSO. That was not intentional. But oh well. Let's also make this border look slightly better, because this is terrible. Shabam. Now, as for the alliances, well, obviously countries that do not exist anymore will no longer be able to be in alliances, so goodbye Persia. The Circle Alliance is also disbanded as part of the peace treaty, and just remains in just the Triangle Alliance. No, thank you. Goodbye. And oh, these guys, their new color's not here anymore. I gotta change that again. But as for the Pentagon Alliance, they do not really have a need for this alliance anymore. A lot of the countries really don't care about each other. It was just a defensive pact against the Circle Alliance, really. So they kind of fall apart. The only real thing to mention is that these two countries kind of signed a deal with the Byzantines to make sure that they are protected and do not get invaded, because the Byzantines could definitely do that if they wanted to. But they will be ensuring that they do not. This little thingy here, what is that? Alliance. Let's also change this border, because once again this looks terrible. Sure. So, even though it is not episode 35, I think it's time that we do some power rankings, because obviously the world just got changed by a whole lot. So, first place, as I just kind of hinted at, is now going to be Indus, but is just barely going to be over Tuscany. Tuscany still does have an amazing economy, and by far the best technology in the world. Maybe not by far, but definitely a lot better than Indus, but still. Third place is going to be Finland. Fourth, actually I'd say the third might be Byzantines. Fourth is Finland, though. Fifth place, I'm going to give that to Baikal, actually. And sixth will be Germany. 7 is Neo. We'll just call them Hejaz, even though they're in we'll just call them Ethiopia. 8th, let's say Catalonia. And 9th, Denmark. Well, actually, no. 8th, Korea. 9th, Catalonia. 10th, Denmark. So yeah, that is our new power rankings. Things have definitely changed. I don't think Hejaz was even on it last time. Ethiopia, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, they are now. But anyway, I think that's going to be the end of this video. So, goodbye.